Good morning. Welcome to the spiritual reflection today from Deborah's Tree. I'm the Reverend Rosalind Taylor. Happy to be sharing a little moment with you this morning. I have my lit candle, a symbol of the divine light that can illumine our minds and the warmth. There's a little bit of warmth that warms our hearts and guides us with love. Today I want to talk a little bit about the well-known Bible story of Jesus walking on the water and what that could possibly mean for us today. So it's a familiar story about faith and trust in the Divine One, because of course in the story Peter tries to walk on the water and at first he can, but when he loses faith he sinks. Swedenborg writes a little bit about that, that walking on the water means the presence of the divine working in the smallest details of our lives. So that is going on. That's what it means to see Jesus walking on the water. But when Peter steps out boldly, of course, that's our faith walk in confidence that the divine is working in the smallest details of our lives. But when he starts sinking until he's saved by Jesus, that maybe means for us the times when our solid trust in the divine is wavering and sinking and not really trusting that every little detail in our life is actually under the divine watch and the divine intervention and the divine action. I'm going to say in my experience it's really quite miraculous to notice in the moment when the divine is working in the smallest details, and it can happen in the smallest moment with great appreciation. But I'm going to say usually in hindsight is when I can see how the divine worked almost breathtakingly. It's the recognition, the understanding, the feeling that yes, the divine was there actually taking care of every little detail. The angels were present, guiding and moving and leading in every smallest detail. But I'm going to say it's equally breathtaking when we momentarily, or maybe for a stretch of time, forget about or lose trust in the Divine One. And that's also when we sink into confusion and despair and fear, as Peter did. And maybe a response to that is an attempt to control our lives, control the lives of the people around us, so that every little detail is taken care of. But what's breathtaking to me is the lesson in that story that when we are doing that, immediately the divine is reaching out to us to bring us back to spiritual and emotional stability. So I'm going to read this story. It's from Matthew chapter 14. So just get comfortable, light your candle, reflect on the candle flame if you want, and just notice what phrase or word kind of touches your heart as I read this. Jesus insisted that the disciples get into the boat and precede him to the other side. Having sent the crowds away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray, remaining there alone as night fell. Meanwhile, the boat, already 1,000 yards from the shore, was being tossed about in the waves, which had been raised by the fierce winds. At about 3 a.m, Jesus came walking toward them on the lake. When the disciples saw Jesus walking on the water, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and in their fear they began to cry out. Jesus hastened to reassure them. "Don't worry, it's me. Don't be afraid." Peter spoke up and said, "If it is really you, tell me to come to you across the water." "Come," Jesus said. So Peter got out of the boat and began to walk on the water towards Jesus. But when he saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened. He began to sink, and he cried out, "Save me!" Jesus immediately stretched out his hand and caught Peter. "You have so little faith," Jesus said to him. "Why did you doubt?" Once they had climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Those who were in the boat showed great reverence, declaring to Jesus, "You are indeed God's own." So, thinking about the phrase or the word that stood out to you in the story, let's just spend a few moments meditating on that phrase. Let it sink into your mind and heart, and be open to to any message that just might come to you in the few moments that we meditate. I hope and pray that you were able to hear something, some guidance for today as you spent a moment on that word or phrase. Please join me in prayer. Divine One, I ask for your blessings today on those of us who are able to think about and reflect on your story about walking on the water and about guiding every little detail of our life every moment. Help us to remain strong or find again the trust that we can have in you to guide us, to send angels to watch over us on our path. Bless us and bless those who are in our hearts this day. Amen. And now be strong and of good courage, and do not be afraid. Amen.